Time right now is 6:50 here this Tuesday morning in your Sunrise Smart Start. We get right to the big story, the storms this morning. Here's meteorologist James Gilbert with the radar now.
Yeah, we had a lot of lightning that woke up a lot of folks at about 4 a.m. That has generally fizzled out. Still heavy rain across Wayne County that extends down towards Seneca County. Seneca Falls about to get just a soaker of the next 45 minutes or so. The only thunderstorm we're watching is the one down here closer to Wyoming County that's going to push its way towards Letchworth State Park. But you see Buffalo drying out there, and we do have some dry time as we get into late this morning and then into the afternoon. One more round once we get rid of this big bulk here that comes in right about here. We'll take a look at the 8-day forecast, peek towards the weekend at the end of the show. Brennan.
All right, thank you, James. So following the breaking updates on outage numbers, at one point this morning around 5 o'clock, nearly 3,000 RG&E customers were without power. The numbers improving for the last 90 minutes or so, been holding steady at about 700 or 800. Most of that cluster in Webster. You can follow that throughout the rest of the morning, including restoration times in our list at rochesterfirst.com. Happening today, the sentencing is coming for a man convicted of killing his family 3 years ago in Henrietta. Investigators say Rajab Benahi stabbed his parents and sister at their Cathy Drive home before calling police January 11th, 2023. The parents were found dead at the scene. His sister died at the hospital. The case ultimately went to a bench trial this year. The verdict came from the judge, guilty on 3 counts of first-degree murder.
The evidence that was presented by the expert witnesses on our behalf and even the defendant's behalf that showed the defendant did understand what he did that day. He understood it was wrong, and he knew what he was doing.
The district attorney adds the verdict brings justice to innocent victims whose lives were stolen in an act of brutality. Benahi will be sentenced coming up at 11. It has been 2 years now since a deadly shootout at Maplewood Park in Rochester. It happened July 28, 2024. Hundreds were gathered for a barbecue. In total, 7 people were shot that day. 2 women, Taisha Manning and Felicia Council, were killed. Police say there were multiple shooters and multiple weapons involved. To date, just 1 arrest has been announced. That was Niger Johnson, sentenced to 8 years in prison for firing into a crowd at Maplewood with an illegal gun. Oral arguments are happening this week in the federal case against the Buffalo Tops mass shooter. Monday, an appeals court ruled 3 aggravating factors can now be considered at trial if it goes to sentencing. The decision allows the prosecution to argue the impact on survivors, the shooter's racist motive, and his goal to inspire future violence when seeking a sentence. Peyton Gendron is already serving life in prison without parole after pleading guilty to the state charges for murdering 10 black people at the store in 2022. If convicted on the federal counts, he could face the death penalty. That trial is scheduled to begin in October. To Seattle, police there say at least 3 suspects were involved in a mass shooting at a food festival Sunday that left 3 dead and 4 others wounded, including a toddler. A 15-year-old suspect is still in custody after appearing in juvenile court Monday. Investigators say a second gunman they describe as an acquaintance of the teen was among those found dead at that scene. As we look ahead, the midterm elections coming up in November, the Trump administration wants the U.S. Supreme Court to clear the way for an executive order that could dramatically change mail-in voting. In March, the president ordered the government to create a state citizenship list of eligible voters and deliver mail ballots to only people who are on that list. New York and several other states fought back in the courts, and the lower courts blocked the list this year, saying the Constitution gives states and Congress the authority to set rules for elections, not the president. Monday, the Justice Department claimed pausing the EO is premature. Federal funding could be withheld from certain states and local governments that do not comply. We did hear from Governor Kathy Hochul on this, getting a statement saying New York's elections are secure, laws are clear, and the Constitution does not give the president the authority to override the long-standing role of states in running their own elections. Neighbors on the north side of Rochester say they're growing concerned after a state DEC investigation found high levels of hazardous waste in the soil surrounding the old Kodak Hawkeye plant on St. Paul. Those who live up and down the streets across from the abandoned site say the vacant property has caused many problems for the neighborhood, especially in recent years. And all that we heard before the state released findings of a year-long investigation that ran from 23 to 24. It reports a higher than normal concentration of hazardous waste in the groundwater, which does require remediation. Investigators say it could pose a threat to human health and the environment, and neighbors say there's been an odd, bizarre smell for months, but it's unknown if that's coming from the building.
It stinks really bad, you know what I mean? It smells like some type of, it smells like a dead body, to be honest. Sometimes the smell travels from this area all the way down past the zoo.
One material found there, TCE, that was used as a metal degreaser. The CDC has linked prolonged exposure to TCE with certain cancers and cardiac issues. Neighbors who live in the area say they should be compensated, and once the remediation is done, they want to see it renovated. Once we do hear more on the outcomes and the future for the site from the DEC, we'll share that with you in our continuing coverage. One more check of our forecast and the view outside from the Greater Rock Sky Eye. A big improvement from the boom boom and the lightning that we had earlier about 2 hours ago.
Sure. Yeah, you might be late because you're calming your pet down from how busy it was this morning.
No kidding. Scrambling around trying to find a flashlight. Make sure you know where that is next time too.
Yeah, that's right. Those storms luckily have moved out of here. The lightning is generally done as well. Here's your 8-day forecast. Bills tomorrow. I do think umbrellas probably going to be a good call as well. The rain showers around. Tapering off Thursday, Friday, maybe best day of the week there to wrap it up.
See you on the podcast 9 to 9:30 live on the Rochester First streaming app. It is Second Cup of Sunrise. CBS Mornings on the way, top of the hour at 7. We'll have a check of local news and the radar at 7:25.
Follow News 8 wherever you are on RochesterFirst.com, Facebook, X, and on our app for news and weather. Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 on demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.